Hello, and welcome to the Next Brave Step podcast, the podcast that's all about turning dreams into action. I'm your host, Chelsy Wise. Now, this podcast is more than just something to listen to while you fold laundry. Instead, imagine I'm inviting you to join me in my kitchen, a space for genuine and transformative conversations. Here, with the sunlight streaming through the windows, margaritas and homemade guac on the table, we're ready to dive into stories and strategies that don't just inspire you to think about a better life, but give you the tools, motivation to go out there and make it happen. So pull up a chair, let's talk like old friends, and together we'll navigate the journey from turning dreaming into doing, one brave step at a time. Your adventure towards making your dreams a reality starts right here. Hey guys, and welcome back to the next episode of the Next Brave Step podcast. Today, we are diving into a topic that resonates deeply with all of us here at the Next Brave Step podcast, and that is overcoming fear and doubt and taking imperfect action to make things happen. This episode is all about understanding the dynamics of fear and doubt and how they can really hold us back. And most importantly, how we can break free from their grip by embracing the beauty that is imperfect action. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a creative soul, or simply someone looking to make a positive change in your life, this episode is for you. So let's talk about fear and doubt and what they really are. Fear is an emotional response to a perceived threat or danger. So in context of dreams and goals, fear often arises as uncertainty of stepping out of a comfort zone or the potential of failing. Now, doubt, on the other hand, is a feeling of uncertainty or lack of conviction. When it comes to pursuing your goals and your dreams, doubt often manifests as questioning our abilities, whether or not our goal is really viable, and if our aspirations are really worthy of us, taking that next step forward. There's really some big impacts on it. And in all honesty, fear can lead to inaction and avoidance, and it's triggered by the fight or flight response, which in non-life-threatening situations can cause a person to freeze or avoid taking action. This reaction really stems from that fear of failure and rejection, or the unknownness of leading to missed opportunities and stagnation. For me, this looks like not opening up emails or even mail that kind of makes me nervous and scares me. And that's not a good thing, for sure. I should not be doing that. But honestly, that's where it happens for me. Doubt, on the other hand, can make individuals second guess your decisions. It's really this uncertainty that often results in procrastination or even abandoning our goals altogether. Doubt can erode your confidence and undermine your motivation, and it leads to this cycle where opportunities are just not even being pursued due to the lack of belief in your ability or the feasibility that you're even going to reach these goals. Doubt is the thing that really has us often jumping from one business idea to the next without really following through on the first one before we jump ship. This fear and doubt are not only uncomfortable feelings, but they can have some serious havoc on our minds and our bodies long term. According to the University of Minnesota, fear is the reaction to a perceived threat. And this is essential for survival, but it can have that negative impact, like I was saying. Chronic fear can lead to some serious health consequences, including weakening our immune system, causing cardiovascular issues, and gastrointestinal issues. And it also can really decrease your fertility as well. It's going to have some impairment on your memory formation, and it's going to affect your brain processing, which leads to mental health problems like depression and PTSD. Being in this constant state of fear can make it appear like the world is more frightening, which just confirms fearful memories and perceptions. for me, last year is a really good example in my own life where fear and doubt really held me back. If you've been listening to the podcast for a little bit, you probably noticed there was a pretty big break between seasons 2 and 3. And if I'm being totally honest here, it was fear and doubt in myself that caused me to take that break. I was really struggling with the uncertainty in my life and deciding, just decided that it was time to take that 9 to 5 job, which is something that I think I really did need to do financially for myself and my kids at the time. And I don't regret taking that job, but I do regret that the doubt and fear inside of me told me that, if I wasn't doing this podcast and entrepreneurship thing full time, then I wasn't even worthy of doing it. And that's a totally lame excuse, and it's not true at all, but that's where my brain was at that point. There was another part of this equation as well that led me to taking on this full-time job, and that was the fear and judgment from people outside of me of whether or not I looked like I was being successful. I was starting to get wrapped up in how well I was looking like after my divorce. Like, I had to prove to everyone that I was better off and that I was doing really, really good. And I got to the point finally this fall where I realized that the steady 9 to 5 really wasn't for me. And if I truly wanted to live my life on my own terms, it just wasn't going to be while I was punching a time clock, waiting for the phone to ring and, answering someone's really dumb questions or helping someone pay their water bill. Those sure are all great things that need to happen, but for me to live like my best life, it wasn't doing those things. There was this friction point, like things kind of came to a boil and something inside of me just like flipped a switch. And I started strategizing how I could get back to, doing what I really loved. There was 2 things that I really had to overcome in order to get myself to where I am today. First, I really had to let go of what I thought other people were thinking about me, because honestly, their opinions about me, they're none of my business. And I had to start looking at 2 things. First off, number 1, people probably aren't that interested in how I'm living my life. They're probably more worried about how they're living their own lives. And if they really are that invested in my life, then that kind of sucks for them that their life is that boring, that they are spending this much time focusing on my life. The next thing that I had to overcome was letting fear keep me from taking action. I had to stop analyzing the perfect way to relaunch, the perfect tools to use, the best strategy, and I had to just start taking action. The pursuit of perfection can really lead to inaction that sets this like unattainable high standards for ourselves. And this often results in the fear of failure or not meeting those standards. And it really, really stinks. This is what, they call analysis paralysis. It's basically like overthinking, overanalyzing the situation so much that you never even take the first step. And you effectively just become paralyzed and you don't move at all. And that's like the whole point of this podcast is the next brave step, right? Embracing perfect action is really that critical thing that allows us to progress from learning through doing rather than being stalled by inaction and like aiming for perfection. So, learning while you're doing or taking imperfect action is the approach that you basically are fostering growth and learning and resilience, and acknowledge that making mistakes is natural and valuable part of the journey towards achievement and self-improvement. Understanding that pursuing perfection can lead to standstills, we see that the power of embracing imperfection, it's not about lowering our standards, but realizing that perfection is often unobtainable and it's not going to get you to your goal. When we can really focus on just taking like imperfect action, we can shift our perspective. This understanding perfectly dovetails into the concept of having a growth mindset. We shift our perspective when we have a growth mindset from seeing things and our abilities to as fixed to viewing them as potentials for growth areas. This is about recognizing that our journey is not defined by fear of making mistakes, but rather our capacity to learn from them. A fixed mindset basically says that things are the way they are and they're never going to change. A growth mindset says, this is where things are right now, but I can grow and I can change and I can learn from whatever is in front of me. And that is so, so powerful. Shifting from that fixed mindset to a growth mindset transforms how we perceive the challenges that we're going to face, the setbacks that are going to come. In that fixed mindset, our abilities are seen as static. And that's what's really going to lead to the avoidance of challenges. And it's going to be that fear that's going to be like taking over. While in a growth mindset, the abilities to be malleable and that challenges are really an opportunity to grow and to learn. That's what that growth mindset is. And it's important to recognize that these emotions are signals and not just stop signs. They are there to kind of reframe fear and doubt. They can indicate that areas of growth and learning are ahead of you. So how do you actually make that shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? The first thing you got to do is you have to acknowledge and you have to label the fears rather than avoiding them. When you can sit down and really say like, hey, I'm afraid of this and this is why, it takes the power away from it. The next thing that you need to do is view challenges as a chance to acquire a new skill. If you're looking at challenges as like this big scary thing that is going to be really hard, it's going to be really hard. But when you look at it of like, hey, I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm capable of figuring it out. And when I get to the other side, I'll have all these skills. That comes to it with like this you're empowered by it, right? The next thing is to replace self-criticism with curiosity about how you can improve. Instead of being like, oh, I'm so dumb, I don't know how to do this, or I'll never be able to figure that out. What if you just get curious about it and ask yourself, like, what if I could figure it out? Like, how would so-and-so do this? And just starting to get curious about how to improve. The next part is to really embrace setbacks as just part of the learning process. It's not a reflection of you and your abilities. It's just a part of the journey of learning how to do something, right? So I really want to encourage you to see challenges as learning experiences rather than these like big scary mountains and obstacles ahead of you. And that shift can like seriously signify a change in your approach to your goals and your dreams. The concept of done is better than perfect emphasizes the progress over perfection. And this mindset values the completion of a task, acknowledging that perfection comes. This mindset values the completion of a task, acknowledging that perfection outcomes are often unobtainable and can really hinder progress. Successful people who have embraced this concept of, done is better than perfect is the COO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, who famously said, done is better than perfect. She was really emphasizing the importance of moving forward and learning from actions rather than waiting for the perfect conditions. And you can do this by taking small steps. It's, a practical application of this philosophy. And it involves, breaking down that larger thing into goals that have more manageable tasks. This approach is going to help you build momentum and build confidence as you accomplish each of those little things. When you break down that big thing into small things, you can take the next small little step forward until you have some more momentum and confidence. And it's going to help to reinforce your belief in yourself and your ability to achieve those small steps are going to accumulate, and they gradually start to lead to significant progress. They're going to help to raise your self-confidence and demonstrate that consistent action, even if it's not perfect, is truly the key to success. When we can embrace imperfect action and overcome these self-limiting beliefs, they're two sides of the same coin. By understanding that done is better than perfect and taking small steps towards our goals, we begin to really change our self-limiting beliefs that are holding us back. This transition from doing to being, from action to mindset, is so critical. As we start to see the fruits of our imperfect efforts, it becomes easier to confront and reframe the negative thoughts to say, I'm not good enough, or that I'll fail. Throughout the process, we start to learn the power of positive self-talk and self-compassion, which are keys, tools in turning our doubts into those stepping stones for personal growth and success. Some common limiting beliefs that, fueled the fear and the doubt are going to be things and thoughts that are like, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, or I'm going to fail. And to challenge these beliefs, you really have to question their vitality and seek evidence that contradicts them. For instance, recalling the past successes that can contradict those feelings of inadequacy. You can also reframe those negative beliefs into something more positive. So instead of saying, I can't do this, you can change it to, I can learn how to do this with time and effort, or I don't know how to do this yet. When you have that yet on there, it implies that you're gonna figure it out eventually. You really have to make sure that you're practicing self-compassion and this positive self-talk, because it means that you are talking to yourself with, the way that you would want a friend to talk to you, right? If we talk to ourselves, if we talk to a friend, or a friend was talking to us the way that we often talk to ourselves, there's no way that we would continue to be friends with them, right? So make sure that you're talking to yourself the same way that you would talk to a friend who's going through a hard time. Overcoming those limiting self-beliefs, and it's just this transformative process that opens up the door to actually start taking actions. And as we learn to challenge and reframe our negative thoughts and practice this self-compassion and positive self-talk, we're better equipped to set some practical, achievable goals. And this shift in mindset is crucial for moving from a state of doubt and fear and inaction to starting to take and get progress towards your accomplishment. We do this by setting realistic goals and breaking them down into manageable tasks. So we can start by taking small but significant steps forward, which is going to reinforce our newfound beliefs in our ability and our potential. And to take imperfect action, I want you to start with this practical step. So set an achievable goal. So choose a goal that is realistic and within your reach, and that's going to help you build momentum and a sense of accomplishment. You can do this by breaking down your goals and dividing them into these smaller, more manageable tasks that are going to make it seem less daunting and easier to tackle. The first thing you want to do is to prioritize what you need to work on first. You need to focus on what's the most important or what's urgent and tackle those things first. And make sure that you're allocating specific time set aside for each task. This is going to help you keep on track and prevent procrastination, but also make sure that you're open to adjusting your approach. I know I feel like I'm throwing a lot of things at you, like do this, do that, do this, do that. But it really is what sets you forward on moving forward. You have to just take action. I want to share with you a real life example here. So, love her or hate her, Taylor Swift is a great example of taking imperfect action towards your dreams without letting fear and doubt stop you from moving forward. For those of you who might be living under a rock right now and are yet to catch up with the Taylor Swift phenomenon that seems to be sweeping the globe right now, her story is truly a masterclass on taking imperfect action and embracing change. Taylor's journey from a country music star to this like global pop icon with her album 1989 really serves as this bold testament to embracing change despite the uncertainties. Initially, Taylor was known for her country music, and she took a significant leap by transitioning into pop music. And there wasn't a lot of artists that were doing this when she did. This move was really risky and had a lot of uncertainties that potentially she was going to alienate her established fan base already. However, embracing the unknown, Taylor really forged ahead with this album, and it showcased her willingness to experiment and grow. And the album was like a departure from her earlier work, but it really paid off and set the foundation for just an amazing career. Right now, she's going through her Eras tour, and like I want to go so bad. I haven't been yet, but I was just reading on the New York or the Times Magazine special edition that they had with her, and it was so inspiring to look at all of the things that she has accomplished and all of the pivots that she has made. You know, her decision to switch genres was not just a musical pivot, but it was also a strategic move that really broadened her audience and cemented her status inside the music industry. And it really exemplifies the essence of taking this imperfect step forward that was really driven by instinct and vision, even when that path is uncharted. She is just an inspiration to anyone who's hesitant about the brink of change, and just as a really good reminder that sometimes the most significant growth comes from those boldest, bravest leaps forward. In this episode, we've really dove into the complexities of overcoming fear and doubt and the true transformative power that comes from embracing that imperfect action. Throughout today's episode, we've talked a little bit about the psychological impacts of fear and doubt, as well as, shared some of my own personal experiences with you. We've also seen how the shifting from that fixed mindset to that growth mindset can really help to reshape our approach to challenges and failures. So, as we move on from today's episode, I want to revisit the key takeaways here. So, overcoming fear and doubt is a journey of understanding and action. It's really about recognizing that these emotions are really part of the human experience and learning to navigate through them. So the pursuit of perfection is often going to lead us to inaction. And when we can truly embrace imperfection, it allows us to progress and learn from our experiences. And we can do this by having a growth mindset, because a growth mindset is so instrumental in transforming our approach to these challenges. It really encourages us to see setbacks really as opportunities for learning and developing. Just like Taylor in her career transition, it really demonstrates, the power of taking risk. And her story shows us that embracing change and imperfection can lead to phenomenal success. We have to be able to take these small action steps because they are the key to overcoming that fear and doubt. And we can do this by setting achievable goals, prioritizing our tasks, and celebrating our progress as we start to build that momentum and that confidence forward. So remember that the path to achieving your dream is not always smooth. It's not perfect. It's going to be filled with uncertainties and challenges, but when we can embrace that imperfection and start taking action, we open ourselves up for growth and learning and just these extraordinary possibilities. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in with me on today's episode of the Next Brave Step podcast. I just want to continue to hear your guys' story and support you guys. If you are not already a part of our Facebook group, you can go ahead and join that. You can search the Next Brave Step Podcast Insiders on Facebook. We will also have a link to that down below in the show notes. If you haven't already taken the time to subscribe to the episode, you can do that as well, whatever platform you are listening to. And if you want to leave a rating and review, that really makes such a difference in helping other people to find the show and connect with us there. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will see you in the next episode. That wraps up today's episode of The Next Brave Step. I've truly enjoyed having you join me on this journey. Here at The Next Brave Step, we don't just talk about our dreams, we take bold actions towards them every day. Stay connected by hitting that subscribe button and dive even deeper with us by becoming part of the Next Brave Step Insiders group on Facebook. Let the insights and energy from today's conversation ignite your next brave step forward. Remember, every small step is a vital part of your incredible journey. So get out there and take that next step forward. You're never alone. I'll be right here cheering you on. I'll see you in the next episode.